think Chief Executive Lee has really been sort of trying to wage a path for the city over the past year or so and convincing investors and people to return to the city. Is this just a step back, or what's the sense so far on this possible legislation?
Well, I think among the business community there is sort of a somewhat degree of concern and around the uncertainty of precisely over how this is going to be implemented. And there are a couple of points that sort of keep coming up in conversations that I'm having with people. One is on this idea of the widened definition of state secrets. The language there essentially mirrors the language that is present in mainland China's national security framework, and potentially could touch on issues that lead to sort of around the socio-economic development of the city, anything that, you know, reveals some kind of private information on that point. So that has created a little bit of uncertainty, precisely how far that could go. There are sort of course, folks who are a bit more sanguine, you know, people who are used to dealing with those constrictions in mainland China already. For example, they're talking on a daily basis to their colleagues across, across the border. They're used to figuring out how to manage that. They're a bit more accustomed to it. So there's sort of two sort of feelings, I would say.
How much does this potentially create, the sort of the bedrock for more conflict, right? More geopolitical tensions if there's any pushback?
Yeah, this is another sort of certainly interesting element to it. So we do have this extraterritorial element. And the fear here is that this could inflame geopolitical tensions if, for example, Hong Kong were to pursue someone that was a citizen of another country, say a US citizen, in the US. And that is of a sort of practical concern here, because we have seen these pro-democracy activists going into essentially sort of self-imposed exile. Think of Agnes Chow going to Canada, for example. And of course, we have these bounties, a Hong Kong, 1 million Hong Kong dollar bounty on several different activists overseas already. I think more broadly, I think the concern is that while on the one hand, John Lee and the government has really tried to go out and project Hong Kong, that it's sort of business as usual here. Everything is going on as normal. And it is, of course, Asia's world city. On the other hand, they have also got to sort of proceed with all of these national security measures that are in some ways just sort of step in line with Beijing's agenda, that we've also seen kind of increasingly focus more to security. But that balance is very difficult, because it seems like just one after the other, sort of this relentless stream of news focused on national security. And, for most part, foreign firms just want the Hong Kong government, and in fact perhaps the US government too, to just stop talking about this.